Welcome back to Season 2 of Community Convener, the official podcast of the Henry County Chamber of Commerce, proudly powered by Georgia Power. I'm your host, Joseph Henning, President and CEO of the Chamber. We have an absolutely packed episode for you today, highlighting some incredible program services and milestones right here at the Henry County Chamber. In fact, we have two initiative highlights lined up today. First, Georgia Power's George Cruz joins our very own Director of Communications, Barbara Ingram, to talk all things talent and retention ahead of our upcoming Innovation Summit on June 18th. After that, our podcast producer, Trinity Archer, stops by to highlight our exciting teen entrepreneurship workshops launching this summer in anticipation of our Big Flex rollout this fall. Later in the show, I sit down with Jerry Freeman from Delta Community Credit Union. Jerry is going to share some of the incredible work Delta Community is doing across the region, and we'll talk about their recent, well-deserved recognition as the Henry County Chamber Business of the Year. We'll also hear from Clayton Carte with the Henry County government, who is bringing us crucial SPLOST updates, including the latest on the McDonough Parkway, the Route 81 widening project, and ongoing road work at Dutchtown and Jonesboro roads. But first, we start with our catalytic conversation. I'm thrilled to introduce you to our PIN interns for the summer, Subramanya Hariprasad and Gratian Williams. They'll be discussing the projects they've been tackling so far and what ultimately drew them to Henry County this summer. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive right in. Welcome back to the Community Convener, and today we're talking about the future of the regional workforce. Here at the Henry County Chamber, we are executing our 10-year Blue Ocean strategic plan, moving away from standard networking to build high-value, curated connections. A massive pillar of that strategy is Pillar 1, the economic inclusion, focused entirely on the solopreneur and the gig worker. We're out to prove that inclusive prosperity means championing every business size, from global logistics providers down to a single freelance graphic designer. And to help us build these frameworks this summer, we've partnered with the Partnership for Innovation, and we're hosting two brilliant minds from Georgia Tech. Joining me in the studio today are our 2026 interns, Subramanya Hariprasad and Gratian Williams. Gentlemen, welcome to Henry County.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. Tell me, Subramanya, let's start with you. Tell me a little bit about your background. I know you're originally from California, studying industrial engineering. What brought you to Georgia Tech? And tell us a little bit about your prior experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a first-year industrial engineering student at Georgia Tech with a focus in economic and financial systems. In the past, I've always been really interested in finance and economics. Also really interested in technology and the intersection between the two. When I was choosing a school, I knew I wanted to go to a school that had strengths in both areas, which brought me to Georgia Tech. In the past, I've done a lot of data analysis type of work in clubs that I've been in, past internships and things like that, which is what really drew me to this project for this summer, being able to leverage the skills I had in the past in an application that I was really interested in, which was, economics and finance.
Yeah, no, I think we definitely hit the home run when we got you to. Gratian, tell us a little bit about your background, originally from Chicagoland area. Tell us about your background. I know your master's studies in community and regional planning.
Yes, I'm a first-year student at Georgia Tech for city and regional planning. I have a focus on economic development because I did my undergrad in business administration. So I've always been kind of interested in small business development, but also just finding ways to make it easier for people to put their skills or their interests to use and be able to plug that into the economy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. What is the particular... You told us a little bit about how you're drawn to this, but how is this economic inclusion, economic mobility? You're awful young, gentlemen, for an interest in that. Tell us a little bit of how you got to that point. What draws you to that, to figure out what that looks like in the future?
I'd say being from the city, there's just a very diverse population that I've always been surrounded by. And I think I've always been aware or surrounded by different environments that are very close spatially, but economically in terms of being able to put your skills, your experience to use and profit from it or make a life out of it, it's very disproportionate in some parts of the world. And so I think our focus on what we're working on here at the Chamber, our focus on inclusive infrastructure, economic inclusion, I think is a big thing for me that I've just always been passionate about.
I appreciate that. Subramanya?
Yeah, I think for me, it really stems from an interest in economics, markets, and, how people interact and how businesses interact, which is what drew me to working at the Chamber and specifically this project. For me, if I could use the skills that I have to kind of, contribute to business development or economic development in any way, that's to me the most applicable use of one of my skills. And I think the one that creates the most benefit for the world, which is what drew me towards economic inclusion.
Great, great. And I think we're going to get into some of the projects, not all of them, but we're going to get definitely into the gig connector in a minute. But I know you had worked with the ATL chamber in a previous internship. Gratian, what experiences have you had with the chamber prior to this?
This is my first experience with the chamber.
What are your thoughts on it?
I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so remind me, what keeps you coming back to chambers?
Yeah, so I think chambers have a very interesting mandate that, other organizations in the community don't have, and that's to simulate business activity. To me, I found that working with people that are really just looking kind of to connect businesses and get them to grow was super interesting because one, it's a question that doesn't have a very simple answer. How do you get businesses to come out here and network with each other or grow themselves or want to grow themselves? It's a problem that almost has no perfect answer, which I think is what keeps drawing me to working for places like this.
Cool. We heard about your backgrounds in that, and specifically that economic development and business development. We recently have put our strategic guidance for the next 6 years to that blue ocean strategy, as we discussed, and really focused on the approximately 31,000 gig workers, solopreneurs, and that are in Henry County. With that understanding, both of your understandings on economic development and business development, where do you see the future of workforce? If there's 31,000 that we're working with in the gig connector, what does that mean for the big box? What does that mean for the larger properties in that? Do you see what that future looks like? That's a tough question, I know, but I'm just curious with your background in education, if there's any highlights, any insights you might have.
Yeah, for one, I see every small business, every solopreneur, every gig worker being more connected. Right now, I feel like where we are right now is kind of disorganized or fragmented in the way that small businesses look to procure work or work with one another. I imagine a system where it's incredibly easy for all these small businesses and all these solopreneurs and all these gig workers to come together and work with one another and with larger businesses. Today, the job market and the way people procure jobs is so fragmented. It's so complicated. For example, some of these big businesses in Henry County are posting on Indeed and they're getting a million different responses when we have the talent that's needed right here in Henry County. So I see a future in which it's easy for that talent to get connected with those big employers in whatever way possible. And I think the gig connector is not the solution, but a part of the solution.
Absolutely.
For that to happen.
Thank you. Gratian, let me turn that question around a little bit for you. As you look at urban and regional and community planning, what does this shift from brick and mortar to gig workers and that? How does your regional and urban planning hat show you what's a possibility?
That's a good question. I think a lot more focus on, I think I'm big on education in general. I think moving forward, I would hope to see, and I do believe that there will be more focus on youth education and specialty education. So just using something like trades as an example. I think in the past, trades has been a very feasible career choice for a lot of people. And there was a lot of places where you could go and learn it. And nowadays, well, I'm not going to say nowadays because it's different everywhere you go, but in some places it can be harder to get into that than it is to even get into a local community college and go the academic route. I think the point I want to make with that is I think communities will start to organize around their specific skill sets and cultures and experiences. I think every place has unique dispositions that they can put to use in different ways, and finding ways to apply that to the greater economy, I think will be a bigger focus.
I think you had a great word choice in there of community, and I know you two have met with several of the business leaders in the community in the couple of weeks that you've been here. How do you see that shift to the contract worker, the solopreneur, and the community/isolation with that? What are some of the things that we should probably be looking at there as we look at supporting those 31,000 individuals?
Yeah, so I can kind of speak on this a little. Last week, we met with Tony from the Water Authority, and he's a big player in terms of managing all the procurement for the authority. What he was telling us was even they are trying to actively focus on small businesses more in terms of procuring employment and procuring work. So going back to your question, where you're asking, how do you see that changing? I think that people in Henry County are already looking to focus on the small business ecosystem here. For example, the authority does something called the go-to market or the small market employment group. So they have
Mm-hmm.
a set of employers or set of contractors that all live and work out of Henry County, and they will go to them and give their projects to them first before they go and outsource to other contractors in the Atlanta area. So I think people are already shifting towards looking at small businesses. And I think in the future, people are going to continue doing that. And then having tools like the Gig Connector to leverage to be able to reach those small employers and small contractors is especially important.
One more question before we get into the Gig Connector, because I'm excited. I'm excited for the speed with which you all have developed it, but also just the interest that we've seen from the community to help beta test it and get that going. But before we get to that, in working on this, what do you see as the biggest bottlenecks that these small businesses and entrepreneurs have run into, and how can we support that?
Yeah, so in terms of building this, I would say the number one thing is information. I think small businesses especially are a little less aware on, distributing their information out, giving out their email, making sure that they're putting themselves in places where they're able to be noticed and highlighted. And I think that gap leads to, in terms of building the technology, leads to us not being able to cater to them as well. So, for example, a small business could require something like a portfolio, but we on our end are confused on how to kind of find that business portfolio. So then that leads us to require a lot more work on their end.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already a big shift, I think, for a small business to have to sign up for another platform. But then when you start asking them to do extra work and extra details, that's when I feel small businesses get discouraged. So making the platform accessible and then also getting the information we need for everyone to get on the platform have by far been the two biggest challenges in terms of catering to the small businesses specifically.
Great, great.
Yeah, I think also with that is having clear spaces to find gig workers and for gig workers to have clear spaces to know where to promote their work at or where they can connect and collaborate with other gig workers and people who need them. So I think that's a big reason why the gig connector is going to be so special, but also why it's also hard to build the gig connector
Yes.
because it's not something that is very common from what I can see here. There's a lot of widespread, scalable digital platforms where gig connectors can work through, but they're not very land-based and they're not very community-based.
Yeah.
And so that's a different term.
And I think that's the key, Subramania. I think you brought it up with the ability of the skills that are already in Henry County and keeping them here. So share with the listeners a little on what this Gig Connector platform is and what we hope to accomplish with that.
Yeah, sure. So the Gig Connector kind of has two faces depending on who you are. I'll start with small businesses and solopreneurs and gig workers. For that specific group, it's all about getting them access to one, being seen, and two, growing their business. So right now, the Gig Connector is part of what we call Henry Hub. And Henry Hub is going to be transformed, launched on a new website where these small businesses, gig workers, and solopreneurs can access three things, one of which is the Gig Connector. The other two are the Skills Showcase and the Core Collective. So the latter two are really meant for businesses to grow amongst themselves. They can, in the Skills Showcase, present skills that are relevant to their business or relevant to other businesses. People can get together, brainstorm on how those processes can help those businesses. And then the Core Collective is essentially a mastermind group where businesses can network with each other, solve their problems together, and things like that. Now, focusing more on the Gig Connector specifically, the Gig Connector aims to give a place for small businesses to create their own service or their own posting. And that posting is ideally going to be seen by anyone in Henry County that's looking to employ someone on a contractual basis or someone on a temporary basis.
Give me an example of what that short-term project might look like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for example, if I was a videographer and, Piedmont Henry just launched a new building and they want a videographer to come out for the welcome event, take a nice video, edit it, and make it a deliverable. Piedmont Henry doesn't have in-house videographers that do that, and they don't want to go and hire an in-house videographer for the whole year to film a total of 3 or 4 projects. So a big company like Piedmont Henry could go on the Gig Connector, find a small business that's offering services of videographer or media editor, and hire them for one project. Now, the Gig Connector, what it really serves to do is connect and bridge the gap between these two entities, because Otherwise, what Piedmont Henry would likely do is create a temporary worker posting on their website and then send that out through Indeed, send that out through LinkedIn, send that out through Greenhouse, any other job platform you could think of.
And more of a scattershot approach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Versus, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they're going to be getting solicitations from videographers in Atlanta. Why hire someone from Atlanta or another city when there's lots of talent here in Henry County that could perform that task? So the Gig Connector really serves to bridge that gap and connect these two individuals to start getting their own contracts set up from our system. So all of that business deal origination happens in the Gig Connector, which is our ultimate goal for the platform.
Wonderful. Gratian, what has been your aha moment in working on this Gig Connector process?
That's a good question. I think my aha moment has been just how many different kinds of gig workers there are and the different roles that they play in the greater economy. I think I've always been aware of gig workers as a career choice for a lot of people, but I didn't realize how important they are to bigger businesses, small businesses. Everyone relies on gig workers in one way or another. And so I think that's an important thing that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, a decade ago before COVID, and, you boys were probably in high school, but when someone would say gig worker, it was very much a temporary, almost a bridge, like I'm going to postgraduate school. I'm in between my degrees. I'm going to go drive for Uber or whatever, or I'm between jobs. I'm going to go do Uber for a while, DoorDash, whatever that is. And I think what we've seen post-COVID now is that people didn't want to go back to the traditional offices, and they had the skill sets that were transferable. And so now they're doing consulting. Now they're doing project-based work, and it's gone beyond simply what traditionally we saw as the gig workers. Is that what you're finding as you're going through the research?
I believe so.
Yeah. Good. We talked about Tony. Tony's been a great asset to help you. What's it been like to work with Judy McMurtry with JM Excel Consultant, with her experience and her background? How has that helped you develop this gig connector?
Yeah, for one, I can kind of talk about two sides of the project, one of which is the technology side, and then the other one, which is the development side of the project, how the project is going. In terms of facilitating that process, making sure we're getting work done, making sure, everyone involved is very much on the same page in terms of what we're building. Judy has been great at that. Just an incredible project manager to have in terms of ensuring that in every step of the way, everyone is on the same page and kept in the loop. I've also found that a big thing she likes to highlight is that we're from different generations. And
she is big on that, isn't she? Yep,
yeah.
Yep.
And it's been very interesting, I guess, both learning from and kind of teaching her different parts about the process. For one, technology is something that's constantly changing. And I find a lot of times where she's really interested in getting to learn what I'm doing, what I'm building on, how it works, testing it out herself. So, she's always really she's great at the management side of things. And then when she doesn't know something like the technology, she's always inquisitive, wants to learn, and wants to find out more to keep us moving forward in the process.
Yeah. I think that is one of the things that we realized last year with the intern program and seeing it again this year is just the generational difference. I hate to say that because it always has that stigma to it, but that difference is a great learning and mentoring opportunity for both of us. There's things that I can show you, but you, in the 3 weeks you all have been here, have shown me a great deal in the technology side. So I think it's a great win-win. Gratian, same thoughts you have?
I believe the same thing. I think she's also very experienced with project management as well and dealing with lots of different kinds of people that are involved in a project. And so she's very good at making sure that we're considering the gig workers' perspectives, the employers' perspectives, and all the different ways of interpreting a process that comes into it, so that we're not missing out on any details or losing people that could potentially really benefit from this program.
One more quick question around Judy. Subramania, you mentioned that she really goes all in on generational differences and not the conflicts, but the opportunities. She's also a big proponent of the DISC assessments. What were your thoughts in the results you got back on your DISC assessments?
Yeah, I can start. I think mine were very much captured me pretty well in terms of the kind of worker I am, the kind of team player I am. I am always thinking about results. So I'm very dominant on that first D letter, dominant. And I'm always thinking about results and results driven. I can kind of move forward in things while doing my own work, being proactive, stuff like that. And that assessment honestly perfectly captured that. So yeah, it helped me understand what kind of person I was. And I
Yeah,
think the biggest benefit of doing so is that the person you're working with also knows the kind of person you are. For me, I'm very much, I want to get this done. This has to happen. I need to have this result. So the person I'm working with realizes that I'm not just chasing after things, but that's just the way I see the project moving along.
absolutely.
And I think it's also helped me understand a little more about Gracian's work style and his personality and what he needs to do in order to get his work done. So it's allowed us to kind of build this team chemistry that I don't think would have been there if
Quickly.
we didn't do it.
Quickly, like it might have taken 12 weeks to get it done, but
Yeah.
right now you guys got it done in the first week because now you know what the value it. Gratian, your thoughts on your results and how that's helped you build this team?
Yeah, I think it was pretty cool to see. I've never taken an assessment like that. I think I did for a college class one time, but I've never done it in a workplace. So I think it's very helpful. I think with me, I believe mine was a CIS. I think there were some accuracies and some inaccuracies,
Okay.
but the accuracies helped me to see myself a lot more clearly and be a lot more aware of how I work. So for me, something I pointed out was I like to get all the data and know all the context of both the project and all the dynamics that the project is operating within before I do anything,
Yeah.
which is something that's very true about me. And I've been that way for a long time. And I think reading that on paper about myself has helped me to consider the pros and cons of that and start being more intentional about balancing that out.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. We talk about the positives of it and how you two have been able to coalesce as a team at knowing what each of you needs and how you operate. How do you see it from a professional development internal piece? Like you'd mentioned that there's things that you might not necessarily agree with. What do you plan to do with that? Like is there an opportunity for you to further develop yourself? Will this help you as you finish school and go out into the career path? What do you see that side of it, the development side?
I think for me, this isn't something I necessarily disagree with from my assessment. But again, the wanting to have it all figured out before I actually get started thing is something that I think can be useful to start strong and have a strong plan when I do take action. But sometimes it can make me slower to actually take
Yeah.
action and act on things, which is something that I think there's a lot of room for development for me.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Might have been there at one point.
Yeah.
And I noticed as I visit every day or so, y'all are taking advantage of the whiteboard in your room, in your office. How does that help you as a team?
Yeah, I can kind of speak on that for in terms of developing technology, even if it's, a fairly basic website that's not too advanced, you still need to be able to absolutely map out all your workflows, everything that you're kind of working on, all of the steps in the process and everything that you're planning on building. For me, as someone that is responsible of making that technology, it helps me personally view what I'm going to do, but I think it helps more my team members and Judy because they can see what I'm thinking about in terms of the technology I'm building. Because to them, it just looks like I'm on my computer all day. So it allows, I think, both the people that I'm working with to get a vision, to get an understanding of how I plan on building things. And then I find a lot of the time we will whiteboard something and then, Judy will say, just to clarify, is this how we're doing this? Because this is the mandate for the project. So we're able to kind of resolve those issues a lot faster than if I were to go out, completely build it, then show it to them. And then she'd be like, hey, this isn't exactly what we had in mind. And then we'd have to go back and redo things. And I think it helps Gratian as well because a lot of the time he can look at that workflow on the whiteboard and he'll be able to ask me questions because me and him are working simultaneously
Right.
on different parts of the project. So he'll be
Right.
able to see what I'm working on and ask me questions before he gets back to what he's working on because in the end it is all tied together. So it just puts the team on the same page and allows us to move together
I
as
agree.
opposed to us all doing our own thing and then coming together and then
And
finding
trying to get it to blend.
yeah.
Yeah. Nope.
Yeah.
I agree. Gratian, thoughts on the whiteboard and how that helps you? Superbonus shared a lot on what the technology side looks like.
hmm
You want to tell us a little bit about how your role fits in with building out this connector?
Yeah, I think I'm focused on the application of the technology. So who is it applying for? Who is all involved and how are we getting them involved and making sure that their experience is as successful as it can be. also the training for the staff, because we're interns, so we're not going to be here for very long.
I don't know. I mean, I have my hopes, but
Well, yeah, maybe. So just making sure that whatever we leave behind is realistic and maintainable.
yeah, yeah. I can't tell you how positive of an experience it has been these 3 weeks, and just the way that you all have taken these projects or this particular project. But I know you've started some of the other ones just as a break from this. But we've got some great projects we're working on, and I look forward to that. How do these projects, how do they align with what your goals are for the summer?
Yeah, I can kind of start. For one, I definitely knew I wanted to have a project that I could show to future employers as like a proof of work. And I wanted to be able to practice skills like, database analysis, database setup, and things like that. So this project really helps highlight some of those skills that I was looking to apply and have like a work product to show, which is the main benefit for me.
Good. Grayson?
I think for me, I wanted to get some data analysis experience, which hasn't really been my role so far, but I've been
Oh, we'll get you there with the business
I-
confidence
I've
index.
been playing around with it in the meanwhile.
Good.
I think also working with small businesses was a big thing. I think
Okay.
that's what brought me to a chamber in general, is working with small businesses and seeing how they interact with the different support resources available to them and trying to make that process easier. So I look forward to more of that.
Yeah. I'm going to wrap up with the one final question. Based on this work that you've done with the Gig Connector, remind me the beta test, and that'll be the first time that you're going to share it with a wider audience. I know you've talked to Judy, you've talked to Tony, you've shared some updates with me, but you're going to bring in a group of both large and small businesses on June 9th. Based on that beta version, and what you've learned, where do you see the benefits for these solopreneurs and chamber membership in the Henry Hub? And how would you sell them the advantage of being part of the Henry Hub?
Yeah, for one, I think the access to the Henry Hub and the Gig Connector as a solopreneur or on the small business side is going to be invaluable. You're going to be able to be seen by a lot of Henry County employers. Your business is going to hopefully, and if the system works as it should, get a lot more contracts, a lot more work. And even if you don't get, a crazy amount of contracts, I think what people will find is that using this platform is going to give them those long-lasting Henry County connections, as opposed to going on a website like Fiverr or a website like Indeed and finding a temporary work job. It's going to connect you to Henry County employers that are going to want to employ you over and over again for different projects and different jobs. So I think in terms of selling chamber membership, what you're really getting from the Henry Hub is not just the Gig Connector and a one-time work opportunity. You're getting connections that are going to last you a very long time, and you're getting job opportunities that are going to last you a very long time.
Well, and I think to your point, it combats that isolation you might feel as a solopreneur or as a consultant or as a gig worker. Grayson, your thoughts on the benefits of the hub and the Gig Connector and the other parts that we spoke of?
Mm-hmm. Continuing on the point that Subramanya made, I think the long-term benefits, ideally this program or this resource is going to be more of an infrastructure than anything. So it's here to stay. And I think being a part of that, it just brings all the traffic that's coming towards or through Henry County when it comes to gig work opportunities and employment. They're going to be coming through this resource at some point. So getting in on it early or getting in on it at all is going to bring a lot more awareness to your business and help you build that community with other gig workers.
Yeah. Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your data, your knowledge, your experiences, your perspectives. Yeah, I'm excited. Again, June 9th for the beta version of the Gig Connector. And then from there, we get Grayson into the Business Confidence Index and that data analysis, and got some other things that we've got going. And then we wrap that up July 31st with the Emerging Innovators Celebration in Kennesaw. So hopefully we'll have you all back in here one or two more times before that so that you can share some of the updates on some of the other projects you're working on. But it's been a pleasure, and I really have enjoyed working with you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. We'll be right back. And now, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta is recognized this episode as our elite highlight. CHOA has long supported the Henry Chamber's programs and services, including Youth Leadership Henry, Women's Empowerment Summit, our annual awards, and so much more. When it comes to caring for kids, CHOA has never settled for just good enough. Every day, they provide nationally ranked pediatric care to Georgia's kids and teens so they can get back to just being kids. And with your support, we're continuing to raise the bar for pediatric care in Georgia for years to come. Thank you, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, for your continued support. Well, welcome back for this episode's initiative highlight, and I'm excited to be joined by George Cruz with Georgia Power and our own Barbara Ingram. We're going to talk a bit about the Innovation Summit coming up on June 18th at the Merle Manders Conference Center. And George, welcome. Welcome. Tell us your role with the Engagement and Inclusion Committee.
Hey, I'm George Cruz, Area Manager for Henry County and Butts. And here at the Chamber, I am the chair of the Engagement Inclusion Committee, and I'm here to support and foster strong relationships.
Wonderful. Thank you. And this program is part of that Engagement and Inclusion Committee. And Barbara, you are the staff liaison to the committee. So what's the reason behind the heart that you have for this Engagement and Inclusion Committee and the work that they're doing?
Well, in a nutshell, businesses that thrive through healthy cultures, productivity, engagement of their employees, driving those bottom lines because they are making a healthy environment for people to work for. That's what the Engagement and Inclusion Committee is all about. We've embraced those concepts for companies because it's based on data, statistics that companies that have healthy cultures thrive and have high productivity.
And anybody that's heard previous community dialogues and that on the podcast or have watched your videos on YouTube, those all come out of your committee as well. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Community Dialogue, which is the fourth Monday every month, is produced here at the Chamber, but it features conversations about businesses and how they can improve their engagement, retention, productivity by embracing healthy cultures.
Wonderful. George, why is this summit such an important conversation for businesses? As a business leader in the community and one of the great supporters of our community, what does this mean for you at Georgia Power to be involved?
It means a lot. In our business model at Georgia Power, we keep the customer at the center of everything that we do. And here in the business community, we want to make sure that businesses have all the resources and tools. So we understand that workforce challenges impact every organization. So this summit will remedy and provide solutions on how to improve retention, engagement, leadership development, culture, and productivity. We know that innovation today is more than technology. And we also know that economic development touches everything from school systems to politics. So we want to be a driving force in that, and we want to help trailblaze in that area.
Well, I appreciate that. Barbara, this might be for you. The theme this year is the talent catalyst. Why is that the right theme this year? Why is the focus there?
Well, here in Henry County, we've discovered through data that we have various opportunities to lead in the area of talent retention, in the area of driving awareness of new opportunities through the hub, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But it all boiled down to a focus on workforce innovation. And the Innovation Summit is always about improvements in the area of workforce development.
Well, I appreciate that because, especially when you think about innovation, everybody's thinking technology. And George, you and Georgia Power have some great technology. But why is there more to this for a successful company than just that technology?
Well, I'll chime in real quick. Organizations, they have to learn how to, lead people effectively and retain the talent. And once again, your culture will eat your strategy. So you want to have a healthy culture where people want to come to work, where people feel valued, where they feel like they're heard. And plus with today's changes, you want to be able to pivot and adapt quickly. So that's why it's so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You need more than that. You need the culture and the adaptability to go with that technology.
That's right.
And you need the people with the heart.
That's right.
That's right. Barbara, this year's keynote lineup reflects the theme of leadership and workforce strategy. Tell the listeners what they can expect.
We have an amazing cast of characters for the Innovation Summit. So
I know the one you're thinking.
You're on that list, high on that list. We opened the day with a focus on, actually, Georgia Power is the presenting sponsor, but it's coincidental that Georgia Power is the presenting sponsor and the fact that our keynote lead-off speaker for the morning is Kimberly S. Green, the president, chair, and CEO of none other than Georgia Power. So we are very happy to have her because organizations like Georgia Power that invest in their people are the center of this event. And so we lead off with Georgia Power and talking about her organization and how it has one of the oldest companies in the South, Georgia for sure. And, all of the things that Georgia Power has been here every day with us. They're a part of everything
Absolutely.
that we
Such
do.
Leadership. I mean, not Georgia's side, just Georgia Power.
Just Georgia Power.
Has some great leadership.
So just to be able to hear from Kimberly Green, who is leading that organization at the top of the day, I hope that people will take note. And this is an opportunity to have some very good insight for their own businesses from a pro.
Well, and I think the key too is, you might not be the size of Georgia Power. You might not be a service provider or a utility provider. We haven't got it to the healthcare yet, but the healthcare portion, any of these portions, they're transferable. I can take what Kimberly says. I can take what is said by David Kent or any of them there and apply it.
Yeah, they're role
business.
models as a business. They would not be celebrating their people like they do if they did not have proof over the years. This is how we grow. This is how we maintain our competitiveness. This is in a market like a utility. You might think that it's a monopoly, but it is not. Not at all. There is a competitive area there. If you've ever worked in that industry, the utility companies have a standard to maintain.
Well, and I think too, George, to that point, both of these industries, healthcare and the utilities, are high tech.
Yes.
Very much so.
But again, your success is not grounded solely on that technology in either case.
Yes.
So what can we expect from them? To hear that our listeners and our participants that day might be able to take with them.
So one of the things I want to make sure that, you all were just talking about some of the things that can be taken away from those models. Once again, Georgia Power, we are more than our bottom line. We're more than large load customers. We are invested in our communities and we want to see small businesses thrive. So when I say that, studies show, and we've proven that organizations that invest in people, culture, and adaptability are the ones that are best positioned for the future. So when you talk about what Barbara mentioned, we've been around for 140 years.
We don't look a day over.
Don't look a day older, right? But we are constantly evaluating our business model and making sure that we are doing the things that matter for our customers, our communities, our business communities, because we know that is how we are going to be successful.
Absolutely. And I think that just segues us right into, Barbara, the second keynote for the day.
Absolutely. David Kent is the CEO of Piedmont Henry Hospital, and they've won many, many awards under his leadership. But one of the most recent headlines was the opening of the new tower, bringing in more hospital beds and emergency rooms and the ability for the hospital to serve the region even better. So we are fortunate to have David Kent, CEO, to talk to us about the opportunities that the Piedmont Henry has, expanding at that rate for the people that are employed there, all of the integrations that are necessary to bring on a tower, the employees. I'm sure all of that is impacted. He can talk to us about how he continues to have such a successful organization with many, many challenges of growth.
Well, and I think people listening might think Piedmont Henry Hospital is our community hospital. But we all know from talking with David that it is one of the busiest hospitals in the Piedmont system. It is going crazy, and yet it still has significantly powerful stories to tell about the quality of healthcare that they're able to provide. And so I think that will definitely be another great conversation to listen to and hear his thoughts.
Yes, if you've ever been in David Kent's presence, you know. Well, he is funny. He is a comedian in another life, but you know that he always leads with his patients in any presentation, any room, any forum, because that's the kind of leader he is. His focus is on outcomes of his patients and delivering to this community. So in a sense, he is our community hospital because I think he still has that mindset.
Right.
But he is also one of the leaders of innovation in healthcare.
Absolutely. I think one of the more interesting conversations might be around the leadership exchange. Tell us a little bit about how that is made up and what we can expect from that?
The leadership exchange is going to bring awareness to everyone in the room of some data that I just don't know if everybody is aware
Right.
of. The chamber, under your leadership, Joe, we launched a new strategy of Blue Ocean strategy this year, and it's centered around some of the opportunities that many of us were not aware of. So I want to thank Georgia Power for the data. And also, I believe you're working with Georgia Tech.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have this foundation of data that shows us that many workers, fully employed, gig workers is what many people call them. They may be working during the day at a major employer, but they're doing something else on the side. They may be starting a business from their kitchen. They may be gig workers driving for Uber or Lyft. But we have what, 33,000
Over
of them?
30,000.
Over 30,000.
Over 30,000. And
that fit that
and these are
category.
consultants. These are solopreneurs. Maybe it's a new a second or third phase in their career. But they're independent contractors and doing the work.
And one of the things I learned from you is that so many of them overlap with that group who are leaving the county every day to go work for another employer somewhere else outside of Henry. So the hub focuses on all of that information that we've learned, and you've got some new strategies that you're going to be making people aware of.
We're gonna talk to the Pinterns shortly, and that is not disparaging. They are projects for innovation through Georgia Tech, and this is our second year working with them. One of the initial deliverables that these gentlemen will be bringing us is the gig connector portion of the Henry Hub. And so we're looking at the Henry Hub as a subscription-based membership tier for solopreneurs, one person only. And with that, they get to participate in the gig connector, which is, if our larger employers have some short-term gigs, maybe somebody's on maternity or paternity leave, or they're just overwhelmed with planning an event for the anniversary, and rather than hire another person on for this, they can put this gig out on the gig connector, and somebody who's skilled in that can participate and support them. And so we're keeping that business right here in Henry County. We also have the Core Collective through the hub, and that's kind of a, when we look at some of the programming we're doing, almost 2 out of every 3 independent contractor consultants, gig workers say that they don't have that they're operating in isolation, and a lot of times that affects both our professional side and our personal side when we get into that isolated mood. And so I think there's some great opportunities there to bring these communities together and create new communities for them, so that they've got that cohesiveness and feel like they've got partners in the community. So I'm definitely looking forward to the conversation around the hub.
Those all flow under the hub, and also a opportunity to join the chamber.
Absolutely.
So it's really a vetting system for large employers or employers.
Yeah. Yeah, and they even, if they join the Henry Hub, they even get the little badge that Trinity created on their website. Let's talk a bit about AI.
Absolutely.
We're going to have the great conversations with our keynote speakers on people, and we're going to have a great conversation with Tony Carnell from the Henry County Water Authority, with Nancy Lewis, and with Judy McMurtry, and around how we can create community within Henry County. But let's talk about AI. And I know for a lot of people, it's a great opportunity, but it can feel overwhelming. So how are we approaching that conversation differently?
Well, we're looking at it from an employer perspective, leadership in organizations. I know, as I mentioned to the chamber board, we're all leaders, and we're all probably using some form of an AI tool in helping us become more productive. But what are our employees doing? So we'll open the day with a poll, which was George's idea, but we want to find out, are people in your organization using AI? This is the leaders. Do they know what their employees are doing? Are they using it secretly? Do they have a strategy?
They're using it.
They're using
it, whether you're admitting it or not.
But they're using it secretly in many cases. So, this AI session, which is the right before lunch, we will be looking at all of those different aspects of AI within organizations and helping the leadership in the room understand that there's a strategy that is needed for your organization. We have 3 experts on the stage that will be leading that segment. The AI focus on leadership awareness, and they are A.D. Slayton with Still River, and we have Erzaz Digital Media, that will be Brittany Hull, and April Beverly, who is also with BAB Writing Services. We are so fortunate to have them coming to us from multiple different perspectives because they all have their different focus, but they're all working together to give us the opportunity to learn where we should start and where we can go with AI within our organizations from a leadership perspective. And they'll be doing demos and showing you some real world examples so that the leaders in the room can go back to their organizations with an idea of what they can implement immediately to make a change.
George, how do you see this AI segment? I think we need to make sure that our listeners are connecting
Yes.
with this need. And Trinity and I were just talking earlier about how pervasive AI is in our day-to-day life, even if you don't notice that it's there. You know, if you're using GPS, if you're listening to Spotify, if you're just Googling some things to find out more information or to get a recipe, why is this so important for our business community to pay attention?
Well, I think you hit it on the point. It's everywhere. We are immersed in this new media. AI is just part of everybody's day-to-day business operations, from Chat GPT to Copilot to you name it. As we're watching TV and programming's on your TV, you know, with Amazon and all these other HBO Max, it's just everywhere. But organizations that learn early will have a slight or advantage or a significant advantage, excuse me. I'm challenging myself to learn more about various platforms and the attributes or things that I can yield from it to make my life easier. But these sessions will bring that awareness. They will focus on how we can be responsible, how we can have that approach and still be human-centered with the implementation and to take away that fear factor from what AI presents. So I'm excited to be in a time where we are now using automation and having an assistant that's right there on your iPhone to kind of give you guidance about certain things. So I use my AI every day. So I'm pretty sure these entrepreneurs, these gig users, if they're trying to cut costs, if they're trying to understand their market, utilizing these strategies from this innovation summit is going to help them propel their business forward.
Well, and I think you made a good point because there are so many options out there in AI that are available, but not always are they the correct tool to use for what you want to accomplish. And so I think there's that need for research on the part of a business owner and a business manager to be like, okay, well, for this we can use this.
Yes.
This I would recommend this. And so I think that there's some great learning that we can get from that. I appreciate that. Barbara, real quick as we wrap up, we've talked about our gig workers and we've talked about the big businesses there and a little bit of the solopreneurs and all that. Who is this meant for? What kind of target audience are we looking at here?
Well, based on previous experience, we do expect large, small, enterprise level, civic, government, everyone has been in this room every year. This is our fourth year bringing the leaders of the community, the business together, and I expect that it will stack up to be that same audience again.
I think the surprise I have, this is
fourth annual.
So I think the surprise I always have when we have this event is the number of educators that are actually there too.
Right. We have all of the schools on board, the higher learning. There's Southern Crescent Technical College, there's Gordon State, there's Clayton State University. They will all have their executives in the room. I heard from the city of Stockbridge that they will have their executives in the room. And last year we had all 4 cities in the county, plus we had the county.
Yeah.
And then big business, like this year, especially with David Kent being on the program, I do expect healthcare will want to be there to hear a perspective of innovation in healthcare. And this is one of the opportunities to meet anyone that you want to meet that's making a difference in Henry County. I'm delighted to say that they all are looking to learn ways regarding retention, culture, and embracing those concepts for their organizations because it's proven.
Absolutely.
In Henry County, we're leading in that regard.
Absolutely.
One of the only counties that in Georgia are embracing these concepts, the data that supports it, that healthy cultures, healthy organizations are more productive.
Yeah. And I think that's you've hit on it a couple times, and I feel the need to emphasize it just because I'm a data geek. But this is all supported by data. This is not emotional.
Not at all.
That's right.
So it's not some weak feeling or anything
No,
like that. This is data that
this
supports
is
retention and turnover and all of that. And so
all
if
of
we
that.
want to be positive in our workforce, let's look at this data. George, what are your closing thoughts as we wrap up and want people to register?
One of the things I'll say back to the AI is that the goal is to make the AI feel practical, useful, and immediately actionable. Once again, these gig workers, these entrepreneurs, once they have this understanding of how to utilize those tools and strategies, they should be able to cut costs and increase their margins, right? If there's anything that I would like to leave on the table today, Joe, the business landscape is evolving rapidly. Leaders need opportunities to work together and think strategically. This Innovation Summit creates conversations that continue beyond the event itself. So, you're thinking about a blueprint. You're thinking about how do you achieve something, a standard operating procedure. People are going to get so many resources and have so many connections with other leaders and other subject matter experts. When they walk away from this, they're going to be better than they came in.
Well, and I think both of you have hit on this, and it's those connections that you're generating. And when we talk about 2 out of every 3 solopreneur or independent worker that feels isolated, this is an amazing opportunity to come out and connect and create new relationships and that. Barbara, your final thoughts on the program.
Well, my final thought is that you need to be in the room. You need to be in the room because the summit is designed for leaders who want practical ideas, meaningful conversations, and real connections, which is what you were just saying, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Chamber of Commerce. We focus on creating opportunities for our members to achieve those connections.
Absolutely.
And this one, the Innovation Summit, June 18 at Merle Manders Conference Center in Stockbridge, this is where those connections will start.
Tell us a little bit, or give us the address on where they can find out more information and register, if you would, please.
So, Joe, you can attend the conference. You can go online at henrycounty.com, and there are the opportunities to register right there. And the event is going to take place at the Merle Manders Conference Center, 111 Davis Road, Stockbridge, Georgia.
Wonderful. I think, if you care about leadership, if you care about culture, talent, innovation, I can't imagine that there's anything in there that they're not caring about. There's got to be one in here that you care about. So if you care about leadership, culture, talent, innovation, and the future of business in Henry County, this is a conversation you need to be a part of. Again, henrycounty.com, and just search for the Innovation Summit 2026. And I thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll be right back.
Ever wonder how your business could be featured right here on the podcast? It's easier than you think. We're offering podcast sponsorships that include shout-outs like this one, a spotlight in our episode description, and the option to record your own or let us read it for you. Want even more visibility? Bundle your podcast with a feature in our Chamber e-newsletter for double your impact. Sponsorships are limited. Email Trinity at tarcher@henrycounty.com to learn more.
Well, welcome back to this episode's Henry Happenings, and we're excited today. We've got Clayton Carte with us from Henry County Government, giving us a SPLOST update. Welcome, Clayton.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'll share
Absolutely.
with everyone some updates on road projects.
Absolutely. Let's start with Highway 20 there in McDonough with the Parkway and that. How's that coming along?
Yeah, so Georgia Department of Transportation is four-laning a section of Georgia 20 here in McDonough, as many business owners and residents know from the last year and a half of construction. But that project is making some really good headway in the last couple months. They've had a couple traffic shifts as they're working on building the new 4 lanes. I like to say it's starting to look like a 4-lane highway
Yes, sir.
in
Yes, sir.
locations.
Yeah, that'll be very nice once that's done. I can tell you from having to drive that almost every day. Yeah. So tell me too, I think there's been some news lately about Jonesboro Road. So what's new with that?
Yeah, so that's a large county project funded by Transportation SPLOST. And the Board of Commissioners actually recently awarded the construction contract for Jonesboro Road near Target and Home Depot. That project will be starting construction later this summer to 4-lane Jonesboro Road between the interstate and North Mount Carmel Road.
Okay. All right. All right. What other activities are happening? I know I've been through Stockbridge recently, and I know Rock Quarry Road is getting ready for some stuff and even a little bit of preliminary, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. Rock Quarry Road widening's under construction by the hospital. That's another county transportation SPLOST project in collaboration with the city of Stockbridge to improve that roadway access. As you mentioned, there is major road work anywhere you go in the
That's
county.
right. So the next one I want to ask about is the Parkway, the McDonough Parkway, and specifically that around 155 and that roundabout area that's coming in. And I see a bridge going up.
Yeah.
What's happening there?
Yeah, so we have two different projects on McDonough Parkway. One is north of the town square with that new bridge. And when that's complete later this year, that new bridge will actually help carry motorists over 155 and back across to Georgia 42. And if motorists are familiar with McDonough Parkway, right now McDonough Parkway gets you from 42 to Jonesboro Road and to 2081, but then it stops. And
Hmm.
so these additional projects that are underway now will extend the McDonough Parkway so that you can access 155 to both the north and south of the town square.
Wow. That'll be another amazing relief artery for the county. Let's look at Locust Grove for a minute and the
Yeah.
Bill Gardner Parkway.
Yeah, down south in Locust Grove, we've got two major projects. The Bill Gardner Parkway project is very close to being complete with right-of-way acquisition. The county is still working through that process with property owners, and we anticipate construction beginning towards the end of this year for Bill Gardner Parkway widening. And another major project that's starting construction this fall down in Locust Grove will be a new interstate exit at Bethlehem Road.
Yeah, yeah. I see a lot of development going around there on Bethlehem Road, and that'll be wonderful, I think, for traffic congestion. Let me ask you this, Clayton. Every single one of these improvements, absolutely improvements, are designed to relieve traffic congestion in our main areas. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And as you said, the majority of these are T-SPLOST projects,
Yes,
right?
funded by local sales tax collections.
Yeah. And so for those that are supporting T-SPLOST, I want to say thank you. But for those that kind of question the use of T-SPLOST funds, let's talk about the time that it's going to save all of us in commuting. But let's talk about the environment as well, because we're not going to be sitting there at congested areas running our engines in our vehicles and add to the ozone. So what are some of the other advantages of these T-SPLOST projects to our county?
Yeah, one big benefit that all of these road widening projects are doing, in addition to the additional travel lanes, but they also make the roadway safer for motorists by a center median.
Hmm.
And the projects are also constructing sidewalks. So that one part of the project that's not always discussed, but these projects are also helping to improve our pedestrian mobility for local residents.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. I know you just, maybe 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, y'all just celebrated the opening of the latest road improvements up in Dutchtown. Tell us the advantages that brings to us.
Yes, so the Dutchtown Road Improvements Project, it improved and opened a section of Dutchtown Road between Jonesboro Road and Mount Carmel Road in the Dutchtown community, providing additional access and improved connectivity for residents in that Dutchtown area. Thanks for bringing that up. I want to share with
Mhm.
you some feedback that we received at the
Okay.
county
Yeah. Yeah.
from a resident in that area. We had a resident reach out and tell us, as a citizen of this community with children in the Dutchtown cluster, this road improvement cut off my morning drop off by 17 minutes.
Wow.
And that's a direct result of this project and what the results that it's delivering for that community.
That's amazing. Keep that handy because as we keep talking throughout the year and start updating on different projects, I want to keep coming back to those residential testimonials and share those with the listeners. One last question. I know we're looking at next month for the ribbon cutting and the opening of the aquatic center.
Absolutely.
And can you tell us a little bit about the developments that are going on around that Henry Connector and some of that to help with the growing traffic that'll be happening with that aquatic center?
Yes, so we know the Aquatic Center is an exciting venue that's very close to opening, and we talked about how the McDonough Parkway extension is going to open in the near future and give additional access in that area. And so in preparation for both of those projects, the opening of McDonough Parkway and the opening of the Aquatic Center, the county has recently completed a new roundabout at
Hmm.
Henry Parkway and Henry Parkway Connector. And so that roundabout is the junction of two 4-lane roads. And so it was very important that we get ahead of that increased upcoming traffic and go ahead and
Absolutely.
upgrade that major junction ahead of time. Otherwise, we could have potentially seen accidents, had we not
Absolutely.
gotten ahead of it.
Well, I thank you. I think that's another great proactive development that y'all are working on, and I've seen so many of them, and so I appreciate that both as a community leader, but also as a commuter within the county, helping to alleviate some of that. I look forward to talking with you again. I think we've got some T-SPLOST conversations coming up and some SPLOST
Absolutely.
updates. But I think next month maybe you and JP will be back to talk to us about the aquatic center. Is that correct?
Yes, we are ready to make a splash.
All right. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, Clayton. Thank you so very much. And we'll talk to you next month.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. And now it's time for our Member Minute, where we take a moment to shine a spotlight on the incredible people, businesses, and organizations that form the backbone of our chamber community. Today, we are thrilled to feature our 2025 Business of the Year, Delta Community Credit Union. Let's take a listen. Well, welcome back to the Community Convener. I'm Joseph Henning, and in our work at the Chamber, we often talk about the pillars of a community, those organizations that provide the stability and the resources that allow everyone else to grow. And today, we're talking with a representative from one of these true pillars. This organization doesn't just manage capital, they invest in people. And because of their unwavering customer focus, their explosive growth here in Henry County, and their massive philanthropic footprint across the metro region, they were recently named the Henry County Chamber's 2025 Business of the Year. Joining me today is Jerry Freeman, Senior Business Development Officer with Delta Community Credit Union. Jerry, it's a pleasure to have you in studio.
Thank you. A pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here once again
Wow,
with you
and
guys, Joseph, for sure.
congratulations again. Yeah, congratulations. I know it's been a couple of months, but how's that high feeling?
Oh my goodness, absolutely great. Absolutely great. I can't thank you guys enough.
Uh, you earned it.
You and Barbara and the team, and of course, you don't realize the impact that you actually have on my personal performance, the organization, and of course, the things we do in the community.
Oh,
That I
absolutely.
definitely mention.
No, no. I remember first talking with you back when the Locust Grove facility opened and the ribbon cutting for that and everything, and
Mhm.
just very impressed with the team that's there.
Yes, yes. Great bunch of people that's there, moving well, moving forward, and can't say enough about the culture itself and all the external departments that allow that location.
Oh, well, and I think too, the last time we talked to you, you all were just recognized as one of the best places to work in Atlanta, or was it Georgia?
Yes,
Or I can't remember, but I mean
yeah.
that's a pretty amazing feat too in itself.
Absolutely, absolutely. We take that serious with those surveys and of course those feedback from all the employees each and every single year. And I think at the time, I think it was 10 or 11 years running, I
Yes.
believe consistently every single year.
Yeah.
So we stay focused on that trajectory and of course putting the employees first.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I think too, when you look at the human side of it, I think many people see a financial institution and think interest rates and loans. But in your selection as Business of the Year, the committee really focused on your community support. So in your role, how do you balance the traditional goals of a financial institution with this deep-seated mission of community advocacy, community support, community growth?
Absolutely, Joseph. In October 2005, before I was here, before I came
Uh-huh.
on board, it wasn't a coincidence that we put the word community in our name. The change was a result of deliberate decision making from our board to expand our field membership outside of Delta Airline employees. During that
Mhm.
time, there was turbulence. at Delta, if you will. And we made the decision, of course, to insert the name Community. It's a community credit union. And from that time until today, the credit union, we now welcome people who live or work in the 20-county metro Atlanta area. And of course, since you and I met during our last podcast, now we added on an additional 4 counties. So we've gone from 16 to 20, and those counties include Barrow, Jackson, Newton, and Walton counties.
Wow. Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Speaking of the, the Locust Grove office, and you've got, I believe it was 4 here in Henry.
Yes. 4
Yeah.
branches in
Yeah.
Henry County alone. Yes.
So that footprint in Henry has grown significantly.
Yes.
From where you sit in business development, what is about the current trajectory of Henry County that makes it such a vital market for your credit union?
Such a great question. Such a great question, Joseph. The growth in Henry County continues. Just continues. I recently read something yesterday from the Atlanta Business Chronicle that there's another planned in the McDonough area, Ola Road, I think it is. Another development that's upcoming, over 500 residences that's coming in. And of course, so when we're deciding on branch locations, we conduct the in-depth analysis of sort of member concentration, and that sort of analysis includes commute patterns, traffic analysis, and anchor business stop destinations, really as it relates to homework, et cetera. And the unique thing about Henry County is that it has the highest concentration of Delta Community Credit Union members. It has about approximately 44,000 members
Wow.
living and working in the area. So again, I can't stress enough, that's why it was significant to open that 4th Henry County branch in Locust Grove. Yeah.
That is an amazing market share. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. 4 counties in 4 locations, of course, in Henry County, and 4 locations in Fulton. Those are our largest member concentration.
Wow.
And we have to be able to service those members within a certain mile radius.
Jerry, I want to talk about the philanthropic fund. You recently announced the 2026 grant recipients, and I noticed local names like Henry for Music on the list. When Delta Community is looking to distribute more than $150,000 back into the metro area, what are the success markers you look for in a nonprofit partner?
Great question. Great question. The philanthropic fund program, specifically, Joe, the $150,000, that represented a little over 10% of our overall community sponsorships and industry philanthropy. We invested over $1.7 million across Metro Atlanta schools, organizations, and programs. Deciding how to distribute our philanthropic fund grant is always a challenge because we receive many compelling grant applications. We prioritize organizations that align with our mission and values and operate, of course, as a nonprofit 501c3 entity. So we strongly consider organizations with programs that focus on financial literacy, education, STEM or STEAM, and children and family wellness.
Wow, that is a big undertaking and an amazing contribution back to the community. Thank you for that.
It is, most certainly. And I think it's important to mention too, you mentioned some of the success markers when we're meeting those quality nonprofit and not-for-profit organizations. I want to give kudos to Henry County Chamber. Again, I'll give you an example, Joseph. You guys have a remarkable women's empowerment chamber event every single year. This has been my 4th year participating in that. And each and every single year, you will not believe how many, especially women-led not-for-profit organizations, I actually meet and able to connect with, have those conversations, and refer them over to the community development team. There was something that happened this year, Joseph, that typically didn't happen. Out of the 15, 16 not-for-profit organizations that I've been able to get over to that team so far this year, 7 of those not-for-profit organizations I literally actually connected with at your Women's Empowerment
Wow.
session this year.
There is a definite community impact there.
Absolutely. So when I said in the beginning that we can't be successful without our partnerships, that definitely includes Henry County Chamber. And again, I can't thank you guys enough.
Oh, no.
Impact that we have in our community.
Yeah, thank you for that partnership, and definitely one that we value. And yes, the Women's Empowerment Summit, the Innovation Summit, All
Yes.
of those are great opportunities for people to get out there and connect and figure out ways to strengthen those partnerships.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Jerry, you had mentioned a bit about the Financial Education Center, and it just hit its 10-year milestone. Don't get me wrong, we've heard so much about why that community is in your name. I mean, we just saw it with that last conversation around the not-for-profits. But why is financial literacy for the next generation of Henry County residents, those young professionals, those students, so central to your business development strategy?
Yes, it's quite simple. One of our values in community investment is the philosophy that if our communities thrive, our members thrive, and thus we thrive. The program management of our financial education center, it delivers high quality financial education webinars on a monthly basis to our nonprofit community, our business partner employees, and anyone that pre-registers, Joseph, whether they have an account or loan product with us or not. In fact, we invested over $250,000 in our financial education program just last year, which included the new Junior Achievement Discovery Center sponsorship in Clayton County.
Yeah.
That recently opened, absolutely. So this second Delta Community Storefront is going to serve 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students from Clayton, of course, Fayette, and Henry counties, and of course providing that financial education and career ideation during the school year. So we understand how, of course, the financial literacy, financial understanding, we understand how being able to provide that to young adults, right? We know that's not a part of the education curriculum in
Right.
this country, right? So we want to be able to provide those mechanisms to young adults for a better future and a better community.
That's great. And I know, we had just I say we, Trinity just rock and rolled with the Flex program here, and the Henry County winner
Okay.
went on to get third place in state. And so I know,
Outstanding.
just like you, this has a huge love within this chamber, and working with these entrepreneurs, these young leaders, whether it's youth leadership or it's Flex program or National
Yes.
Civics Bees. So I think the future definitely looks bright. Jerry, when we look at those solopreneurs and small business owners listening, what is the Delta community advantage for a local entrepreneur who is looking for a partner to help them scale?
Absolutely. Along the same line with financial education, Joseph, like I just mentioned, these webinars are open to anyone, right? So especially when you're thinking about business funding, when you think about what it takes to get approved for loans, sometimes you need that extra understanding and extra knowledge piece of understanding credit, ways to improve credit. What does it look like for first time home buying? What are those steps? All of our webinars cover that, right? So that's why it's important that we continue to leverage our financial education workshops. So now with having over 31 locations in the Metro Atlanta footprint, we have team members dedicated to assist, of course, loans, retirement and investment services, insurance through our members insurance team. And of course, additionally, Delta Community provides access. We partner with the organization called Balance. And through that, we extend our financial education through comprehensive personal finance resources to help you achieve your financial goals. And then lastly, I would personally invite any business partner groups that are seeking any credit union partnerships as an additional added value for employee engagement and new employee
Hmm.
orientations or benefit or wellness fairs, or if you need on-site financial education workshops, they can certainly contact me directly.
Wonderful. And we'll get to that in one second. But,
Yeah,
this is one of my favorite questions that we've started asking our guests, to help our listeners sharpen their own leadership edge. Is there a book, podcast, or other media that has significantly impacted your professional journey that you would recommend to our business community?
absolutely. Of course, there's so many.
Yeah, I know. You got to pick one.
There's so many, but one that I really value and that I listen to, and it's more so tapping into internally, those intrinsic
Hmm.
rewards, those personal values, things that tie into why we do what we do. His name is Dr. Rick Rigsby. And it's on, of course, Spotify, all your streaming platforms. And the name of that podcast is how you living. He has a tremendous story of how his rise to success, of course, his struggles over life, and watching his father, who only had a third grade education, and learning so much from his father in terms of those life values. He gets into when he lost his wife and all of those things that still push him forward. His name is Dr. Rick Rigsby, How You Living. I highly suggest that podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. That sounds amazing. Amazing. So, Jerry, thank you. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for the work that Delta Community Credit Union does. The impact that y'all have in Henry County on families and businesses is just amazing, and I appreciate that. If someone wants to connect with you or learn more about the credit union, where should they go?
Yes, you can contact me directly, jerry.freeman at deltacommunitycu.com. Of course, jerry.freeman at deltacommunitycu.com. Of course, our website. Just simply Google Delta Community Credit Union. And of course, we're on all platforms, LinkedIn especially. And of course, our community development team under the community drop down on our website, deltacommunitycu.com, if you need to contact that team. But either way, you can contact, of course, that team or myself, and we'll certainly be able to connect you, whether it's financial education or, of course, whether it's sponsorships or the steps to our philanthropy awards as well.
Well, and Jerry, we talked briefly about the Locust Grove location on Highway 42 there, next to the new Piedmont urgent care that they've got there. Where are the other locations in Henry County?
Yeah, those other locations, of course, we have two locations technically in Stockbridge. One is Mount Zion. We have our Eagles Landing location, and of course, McDonough. Right. So the 210 Jonesboro Road is McDonough. The Stockbridge location is 285 Centerpoint. And of course, our Mount Zion location is 5006 Mount Zion Parkway.
All right. Well, I know three of those, so I've got to get out there and find that fourth one. So I appreciate that. Jerry, thank you. Thank you for representing the Chamber's Business of the Year for 2025, Delta Community Credit Union. Definitely a true partner in the community's growth. I mean, just the way you walk along beside this community as it grows and adding in another satellite branch office. I just want to thank you for being with us. To our listeners, remember that where you put your capital matters, and we'll see you next time on the Community Convener. All right, a huge thank you again to Jerry for that fantastic conversation and for the immense continuous impact Delta Community Credit Union makes across our community every single day. We also have some wonderful news to celebrate from other members of our Chamber family. Noah's Ark Animal Sanctuary in Locust Grove has recently welcomed two exciting new residents. Yona, a 5-year-old black bear rescued in North Georgia, and Juju, a rare kinkajou native to Central and South America. Their arrival marks another beautiful chapter for Noah's Ark as they expand their vital rescue and rehabilitation efforts. Sanctuary leadership also shared the recent legal challenges have been successfully resolved, allowing their dedicated team to remain fully focused on their core mission, providing lifelong care for animals in need. Be sure to stop by soon to meet Yona in her new habitat and learn more about the incredible work Noah's Ark is doing to rescue, restore, and protect wildlife right here in Henry County. A massive congratulations to Henry County Water Authority, which recently brought home 5 prestigious awards from the Georgia Association of Water Professionals Spring Conference. Leading the charge was the authority's Tussahall Water Treatment Plant, which was named the best operated water plant in Georgia for the 5th time since it opened in 2007. The Water Authority was also recognized for its exceptional public education programs, while team members Spencer Lauderdale and Brett Howard were individually honored as top operators in their respective fields. These awards truly highlight the expertise, dedication, and deep commitment of the professionals working around the clock to provide safe, reliable water services to Henry County residents and businesses. Looking ahead, Crosswalk Ministries USA has officially announced its 2026 Child and Family Wellbeing Conference coming to Stockbridge on July 17th. Centered around the powerful theme of bridging systems, strengthening families, transforming futures, the conference will bring together educators, caregivers, mental health professionals, nonprofit leaders, faith-based organizations, and community advocates to explore practical solutions that support our youth and families. Crosswalk Ministries is currently seeking dynamic speakers, sponsors, vendors, and attendees from across the state. Early bird registration is officially open, making this a premier opportunity for professionals and community leaders looking to strengthen partnerships and make a lasting impact. And finally, we want to invite you to celebrate growth in our community by joining us at our upcoming ribbon cuttings on June 2nd at 3 p.m. for Oakley Estates, on June 10th at 11 a.m. for the Henry County Moose Lodge 2170, on June 12th at 3 p.m. for Manifest Wellness Spa, and on June 17th at 11 a.m. for T-Mobile in Locust Grove. If you're interested in learning more about these or any of our members, be sure to explore the member news section on our website. So, Trinity, before we jump into the upcoming events, I know you've got a great series of 5 coming up this summer in June and July, and I just want to ask you to share a little bit about that, this teen entrepreneur workshops.
Yeah, we are super excited to be partnering with the Henry County Library System to host each one of these at each one of the public libraries in Henry County. But essentially, we are gamifying business.
All right. This is you and your Flex Committee coming off of a wonderful first year of the program here in Henry
It's going to be
County.
hard to beat.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to beat. Congratulations on that. I mean, that's amazing for a first year. For those that may not recall, Lola, our Henry County winner in the Flex competition, took 3rd at the state. And I got to commend you, Trinity, just the coalescence that you've been able to bring around this program, especially for a first-year program. The mentors that you had, workshop providers, the supporters, sponsors in that. Great job.
It's hard to take all the credit myself. I had the
Take
joy
it.
Well, seriously, though, I have the joy of being the face of it here at the Chamber,
Yeah.
but it is not a one-woman job.
No,
I have a great committee, a fantastic committee,
Yeah.
and fantastic partners within the schools, now with the libraries, which is such an exciting development, and sponsors. The whole board was behind it
I
as
think
well.
I appreciate it's something. I'll be honest, it was something I looked at for a couple of years, but knew that I didn't have the bandwidth to put it
It's a lot.
together.
It's a big lift.
And so when you had the interest when you joined, I was like, yes, go. And I think the only person more excited and more supportive of you for this program was Chris Wood.
I was just about to say that. He has been a supporter of this since it was just an idea of us doing it. So
Yeah, well, great job. You talk about the partnership with the library system.
yes.
So let's talk a little bit about these workshops. What you had mentioned that they were gamified. So tell me a little bit about that. Let's share that.
So essentially, students or just guests, teenagers, young entrepreneurs will come in, we'll do a short little spiel, but they will essentially, if they don't have an idea for a business that they may already be running or may want to run, they can roll the dice to see what kind of business that they will be running for the day. So kind of a form of spontaneity to it, if they want to see
And this is just for teens.
12 to 18, but
Could I pass for that? I mean, this sounds fun.
it sounds fun. I would
does.
definitely
It does.
partake in this game. So
Okay, so
I'm not turning anyone away.
So they either have an idea or they roll the dice and they get an idea for the afternoon, and then what?
And then they start rotating through different tables themed around one of the important aspects of business. So one of the first things they do is they'll start with a very simple business plan. From there, they can advance to marketing. Well, they'll develop a logo, identify their different customers, like who is your core customer, maybe their colors, they'll identify that. And all of this is going to be done in like fun ways. They'll actually get to draw their logo, maybe use magazines for inspiration, things like that. We will have a financial decisions table. So they will be allotted a certain amount of quote unquote money, and they will be given a list of things that they have to consider when they're running a business.
Wow.
Like licensing, insurance,
Wow.
some of the things you may not think about when you're thinking like,
Right.
oh, this is fun. I want to do this for a living.
Yeah.
So they'll really have to prioritize what they want to put their money towards. Another really interesting one that I appreciate that we came up with was a community resource table. So the students will get a chance to stop by this table and identify different resources or organizations within the community that their businesses can benefit with or partner with.
Nice.
So that could be the SBDC
Uh-huh.
or the Chamber, for example. Great plug for us.
I know. Good thinking.
Beyond that, there's a few other tables, but at the end, they will pitch their business and earn their business license.
Nice. So these tables, you can't be at all those tables.
No.
So how are you managing that process?
Like I said, we have a great support system here at the Chamber. Between my committee, our board, and our ambassadors have stepped up to help facilitate this program. Because it's 5 programs, you got to think there's about 5 or 6 different tables, including registration. So there's going to be a lot of people needed at each event for each day.
Right.
And I've almost filled up all of our volunteer spots
Wonderful.
from our ambassadors. Our
Congratulations. Okay, so let's run through the 5 locations and the dates. And this is 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. on those Monday nights.
Yes.
Okay, so the first one.
First one is June 15th at the Fairview Public Library in Stockbridge.
Okay, so starting up at the far north. All right.
We'll still be in Stockbridge on June 22nd, the Cochrane Public Library.
Okay.
Then on June 29th, we will be in Hampton at the Fortson Public Library. Then this does lead into July. So on July 6th, we will be at the McDonough Public Library, and we will end the series on July 13th at the Locust Grove Public Library.
Wonderful. And these are all on our calendar.
Yes.
Okay.
And free to attend.
Free to attend. Free to attend. Absolutely. So let's see, wrapping up the starting on June 15th and running 5 consecutive Mondays through until mid-July at each of the public libraries here in Henry County, 5:30 to 6:30, targeting young adults 12 to 18, whether they have a business plan or not, but they just want to get a little bit more information on being an entrepreneur. Any other details that we need to share with them other than henrycounty.com for the calendar and locations?
Mainly henrycounty.com, but also plug for the library. They have just a multitude of resources, and they'll be able to see that as well at these events.
I appreciate that. I think far too often we think when we look at collaborations, obviously the schools and that, but I think the library system is absolutely amazing to partner with just from the data and the resources available. All right. So hopefully we'll see everybody out there for these 5 consecutive Mondays, but if not, stop by your branch and find out more about the entrepreneur resources and business resources that are available.
Absolutely.
All right. Trinity, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with more upcoming events. We have a fantastic lineup of events designed to help you connect, learn, and scale. If you're looking to actively grow your network and your business, join the Henry Business Builders every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. right here in the Chamber's Business Resource Center. This is a completely free networking group that brings together local small business owners and solopreneurs focused on building meaningful referral partnerships and supporting one another's success. There is absolutely no cost to attend and no prior registration required. Just show up, start connecting, and see if this vibrant community is the right fit for you. On Thursday, June 11th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., we are hosting Bridge Henry Chamber Connect in our Business Resource Center. Let's face it, running a business comes with no shortage of complex questions, and this event is custom designed to connect you directly with the answers. From accessing capital to fine-tuning your growth strategy, you'll have the unique opportunities to sit down one-on-one with seasoned professionals who can help you move your business forward with total confidence. And by all means, mark your calendar for Thursday, June 18th from 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and join us for our marquee event, the Innovation Summit, The Talent Catalyst. We'll be at Merle Manders Conference Center in Stockbridge. This year's summit is heavily focused on innovative strategies for modern workplace culture, leadership, and employee retention. Through dynamic keynote presentations, interactive panel discussions, and a practical workforce solution, attendees will walk away with fresh ideas, actionable strategies to attract, engage, and retain top-tier talent. And finally, on Tuesday, June 30th at 9:30 a.m., please join us for Building Economic Bridges, a housing conversation held in the Chamber's Hudgens Room. This collaborative, vital discussion, hosted in partnership with United Way of Greater Atlanta, will bring together lenders, financial institutions, and community stakeholders to explore exactly how housing inventory directly impacts our regional economic growth and financial stability. It is a critical conversation focused squarely on building a stronger, more prosperous future for our community. For more details on any of these upcoming Chamber events or to secure your registration, simply head over to the Chamber calendar on our website at henrycounty.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Henry County Chamber's Community Convener, broadcasting from our Georgia Power studio. If you're listening and are interested in learning more about our exclusive membership benefits, or if you'd like to explore prominent sponsorship opportunities for your business, please give our team a call at 770-957-5786 or visit us online at henrycounty.com. We'll be right back here in 2 weeks with another deep dive into our regional tourism trends, our May Ambassador of the Month highlight, our next Connecting Point segment, and an incredibly important community dialogue expanding on bridging the gap of generational diversity. Make sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and don't forget to follow the Henry County Chamber across all of our social media platforms. Until next time, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep growing with us at the Henry County Chamber.